Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's James and Watts giving you an update for September 2024. Let's get into it. Just kidding. I don't talk like that. Oh my god. Do you think anyone started this video and clicked out immediately before I could finish the joke? I just really wanted to try for 1 second to do the stereotypical YouTuber voice. I feel like I could do it better and more annoyingly, so maybe next time. Anyway, hi, hello. It is indeed James and Watts giving you an update for September 2024. And where to start? I have a beverage. There's been a lot of development in the beverage front in that I'm drinking much less Coke Zero / Diet Coke. I really only get them when I go out, like at a restaurant or something. Or if I'm in a convenience store, like before I meet up with friends or something, maybe I get one and bring it. But I don't have them at my house for 2 reasons. I never realized how expensive Coke products were, especially how expensive they've gotten. And second of all, I think I talked about this last time, I'm watching my caffeine intake, okay? 1 coffee a day. I cannot be caffeine addicted with a muddled caffeine brain. So 1 coffee a day, usually not a Coke. And I'm having drinks like this, which are probably also toxic, poisonous swill that are killing me, but that's okay. This is Hawaiian, like sugar-free, 0 sugar, Hawaiian Punch in a powder packet, mix-in, like a single serve powder packet. And I've gotten into a lot of those drinks. There's so many different brands. I've only been getting what you can get at Walmart, and I may have to enter into an era of researching them online and getting like online orders of even more special flavors. But I have like Hawaiian Punch flavors, not just the red. They have a bunch of other ones too. I have Skittles flavors. There's like Starburst. I think there's Sonic, which I really want, but I haven't seen them at the store yet. I have Snapple. I have like Gatorade. That's more for electrolytes. Anyway, they're good. They're cheap. I'm allowed to have it with my diabetes. So that's what I'm drinking. I am wearing new glasses. That is an exciting update for you, or maybe not, but it's an exciting update for me. So sad story, I lost almost all of my glasses that I've been collecting over the years. It's really a travesty. It's horrible. Somehow they got lost in the move. I've checked everywhere. They're gone. Some of them were irreplaceable. I mean, I'm going to keep my eye out for a few frames that I particularly loved and hope that another pair pops up on the vintage frame market. But I did have 1 pair of vintage frames, my most recent one that I had the lenses. I bought the frames like 2 years ago, probably had the prescription filled a year ago. Yes. Ugh. And honestly, the ones that I didn't lose are one of the least rare frames. I could still buy that frame today. It's like they've got multiples in stock on the Etsy where I shop them. But these are not vintage frames. These are frickin' Zenny Optical, which I've never used before. I've heard of them for years. Never tried those like dirt cheap online glasses brands. And I gotta tell you, I bought 3 pairs of glasses from Zenny. For one, I don't have a ton of money. For another thing, I have been kind of craving a shift in my glasses wardrobe to just more normcore, classic wireframes, something your dad would wear, rather than such fun, like dazzling, eye-catching vintage, big plastic acetate frames, which I've loved for years. It's what the style I've been wearing for at least since 2011, I would say. So it felt like time for something else, and I just wanted something basic. I've been leaning basic in a lot of the ways that I express myself through style, for better or worse. I don't know. I'm happy with it. That's what matters. I am going back into a YouTube voice, this time not on purpose. That's spooky. I'm also talking really quickly, which I actually like that in a video. I often am quite a slow speaker. I speak ponderously and take my time with my thoughts. That's how I like to speak. The videos I like to watch, I like more fast-paced, and I often increase the speed on videos, especially like long-form content like a knitting podcast that's sometimes 1, 2, 3 hours. I'm always increasing the speed on that. But I'm feeling the pressure, and I'm talking quickly because I've got like 25% battery on my phone. I had the bright idea that I was going to be charging my phone while I recorded this podcast, and then right before I was going to get started, I remembered I took y'all's advice and upgraded to a new lavalier mic, which is wireless, and I forget, there's like the transmitter and the transponder and the receiver, whatever. I don't know the terminology, but there's this part that clips onto my shirt, and there's another part that is connected to the charging port of my iPhone. So I needed that. I have these mics, I'm gonna use them. But I think as long as my video is not, like if we can keep it below 90 minutes, which I'm gonna aim for an hour, honestly. If I do 30 minutes, even better. But we'll see. I think the phone will make it. Anyway, hope you like the mic. If you watched my last video, I was already using it then, so maybe you're used to it, but I definitely think it's a big upgrade. I think it was great feedback from, I've actually had that comment at least 2 times, probably from different people, of telling me I should consider getting a mic, but I just felt ready to do it once I read it a second time, and since I'm really interested in making YouTube videos now, it felt like the move. But let me show you the other glasses that I got. They're all kind of similar. This is the largest frame. It's a golden circular frame, not like perfectly round circles. That's not my style so much, but a more organic round shape. And then I got a second gold wire frame. This one is a half frame. These are the most comfortable. They are incredibly lightweight and almost like flimsy feeling. They're all really cheap, right? These feel cheap, but they feel cheap in a way that is super comfortable because they're very light and malleable. And then last pair is the most dad of all the dad glasses, which is, it's like the kind of glasses my actual father has worn my whole life. A thin black wire frame, rectangular frame. These were the half frames in the gold. I think I said that, but I like all of them. Style-wise, I think I like these the most. Comfort-wise, I like the half frames the most. And then this is just a different vibe entirely. It's like the most normcore dad nerd, and it's also in black. So it's a little bit different. I wouldn't normally order like 3 new pairs of glasses at a time. Like you don't need more than one, really. I like to have a lot of options though. And in the past, if I were going to be spending the money to get 3 pairs of glasses, I probably would have gotten 3 things that were all really special and really different. But I was buying these frames without ever having tried them on. So I felt like I was gambling on the whole thing. And I was like, let me just get 3 basic styles. Hopefully I like at least one. The good thing is I like all 3. I didn't have any, you know what? I'm deleting this all out of the video because why am I not getting paid by Zenni to do this? Or at least they could have paid for my glasses. And you know what? I bet if I reached out to them, like, I probably could have gotten it. And like, I know it's icky and that's usually not my style to like reach out and like do influencery BS like that, but it's time, okay? I need to be saving money and I need to be making money. So honestly, I'm not gonna delete this because I don't want to, and this is also funny, but can I retroactively, I'm gonna send this to Zenni. Hello Zenni, this is my audition tape. I'm gonna do this again and maybe I'll say even nicer things next time and you are going to pay me for it. How about that? Can we work something out? I don't need any more glasses. Maybe like 1 pair of sunglasses could be good. But yeah, I'm really singing the praises of big corporate glasses online for free because I like all of these. And for 3 pairs of prescription glasses, I also have astigmatism. I don't know if that makes it more expensive or not. Other than that, I get the cheapest lens they offer. I spent $80, including shipping, which I think was free. So I cannot complain about that. Love that. What am I wearing? I don't want to wear these ones. I want to wear these ones. Zenni, if you don't offer me any money, next time I record a video, I'm going to say that these glasses gave me head lice from the packaging. I don't know if threatening is the best approach, but it is funny. So here we are. Let me look at my notes. My mom is coming tomorrow to visit me here in Chicago. I believe it's her first time here. I think she's gonna have a great time. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do. She's coming again the following month with my dad and my sister's wife. That'll be fun. But I wanted her to come sooner on her own so we could photograph her in the sweater that I knit her this summer out of Noro yarn. It's a Noro Silk Garden. It's my upcoming worsted basic drop sleeve sweater. I think that's what it's called. And it's what it sounds like. And I meant to photograph it to her when I gave it to her this summer, but it was too hot. I wasn't in the mood. I was not really doing any work in Houston when I was staying with my family. But yeah, it'll be fun to have her come in tomorrow. I think we'll probably do our little photo shoot tomorrow, get it out of the way, and then we can like go to museums, eat out, and have fun for the rest of the week. She's just here Monday through Friday. And then, yeah, I would ask for recommendations, but I think I have a lot. And I think there's just so much more than what we can possibly do in only like what's ultimately 3 full days of like fun. So, but I don't know, feel free. If there's something, if you're from here or you've visited here and there's something that you just think about all the time, let me know. You know what, I have in my notes that I'm gonna plug Etsy because back to the glasses for 1 second. This is shaping up to be a long video if I can't get off of this glasses topic, but for the longest time, I severely gatekept where I bought my vintage frames because I used to be really into them more than I am now. And I would often have frames that were like one of one sitting in my cart for like 6 months before I like got the courage and the money to buy it. And I never wanted to like tell a large audience about my source of frames because I don't want y'all to buy all my frames. But I'm feeling like I can be generous with that information. I've been buying from this Etsy for like probably 8 years or something. And they are always they're always sourcing new vintage frames. They're always doing huge updates. And there's just so much to choose from. I would also say that there's a lot of really affordable frames. There's a lot of like $20 frames. There's also like $200 frames, but I would say the majority of the frames are under $100. So they're not like, for the most part, like something extremely unaffordable or luxurious, but they are really cool and they're unique. But I said I was gonna plug the Etsy and I don't actually have the name of the Etsy ready in front of me, but I think it's Vintage Accessory for You. Glasses, Etsy. One moment, please. Okay, here it is. It is Vintage, the number 4 accessory. There's a lot of people selling vintage frames. They are who I feel like have the largest amount of inventory and update frequently and have good prices. It's like everything I want. A lot of other people who sell vintage frames are very boutiquey and very expensive. So that is Vintage for Accessory. Go look at frames. You can always buy frames and fill them on your own, like at any lab usually. I've never had a problem. I think you could also, for probably even cheaper, I think these websites, I don't know about Zenny, but maybe Zenny and certainly other ones that are in that same kind of space of like online glasses, I know will allow you to mail in your own frames for lens prescription filling. So you could probably get lenses filled for like 30 bucks or something like that, or less, I don't know. So yeah, there's also an eBay that I like. It's a German-based eBay, but maybe I'll gatekeep that one longer just because I don't remember what it's called right now. And this Etsy is my go-to for years, so enjoy. Cat's out of the bag, and I'm not putting that on my Instagram. That is a treat for YouTube viewers. Oh, wait, I closed my iPad, and I still want to look at my podcast notes. So yesterday was a big, fun, eventful day. I went with my buddies, Park and Jessie May. We left around 7 a.m., leaving Chicago to go straight to the, what's it called? The Great Wisconsin Quilt Show. So I love quilts. I'm not a quilter. My mom is a quilter. You know that if you watched my last podcast episode. I've always been interested in quilting. I've never really considered doing any quilting. I've like thought about it, but I haven't heavily considered it, and I've never done it before. But I love quilts, and doing it does appeal to me. But I've always loved the quilt show in Houston, which if you are into quilting, you might know this. I believe the Houston Quilt Show is the largest international quilt show in the world. And I have been at least 3, 4, 5 times over the years with my mom. And from going, I would say that tracks. After seeing another more like normal quilt show yesterday, the Houston Quilt Show, because I'm not like an actual serious quilter and I'm not like taking classes, I'm not that invested in it. It's in the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, which is huge, and I believe they rent out the whole space. They use half the convention center for the exhibition hall and half for the vendor hall. And most years, I always start with the exhibition and I see the whole thing, and that takes a long time. There are so many prize-winning quilts in the exhibition and so many categories, and quilters bringing these quilts from all over the world. And then I hit the vendor hall on the second half, and I think many years I have given up on finishing the festival. Like, I can't get through all the vendors because my feet are just hurting too much. I get too hungry. I've been there for too many hours. Like, it is gargantuan. Wisconsin, the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show is not on that level, but it was still nice. It was still fun. I still love to see the quilts. Ugh. My iPad, maybe I need to update it or something, but I have my sound off and I'm on Do Not Disturb, and I still get like text notifications that like the sounds that I don't know how to make stop, but it drives me crazy. I'm gonna go into my settings right now and see if I can do anything. Whatever, I give up. Oh wait, sounds. I'm just gonna, okay, I think that probably worked, but I don't know. It's very bizarre. Sorry. So Wisconsin Quilt Show was nice, and the exhibition was pretty small. There were some very lovely quilts. I took some pictures. If you have seen my Instagram stories today, you probably saw them. And the vendor hall was fun. Jessie May is thinking about getting a sewing machine and has been getting into sewing, and it was nice for her to look at some of the machines. Mostly it's like machines specifically for like quilting or machine embroidery, but they had a few like normal all-purpose machines for us to look at, so that was nice. And Jessie May has also been saying she's been thinking about getting into quilting, so her saying that she wants to quilt, my mom, who's been quilting for decades, but recently, like past few years, got heavily back into it. My mom quilting, and then being at the quilt show, I got overwhelmed and I was like, I want to quilt. So I just started buying fabric. Nothing too wild. I think I spent $40, and I think I just was grabbing fat quarters, and I think I probably got like 15 or 16 fat quarters. I got them all from the same shop. Let me show you. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. I think I'd like to make like a large lap quilt, like maybe 5 by 5. So this is not gonna be enough fabric for that. I don't know how much fabric I would need though, but I don't think too much. Maybe like 2 times this amount. I don't know. How many fat quarters do I need to make a 5 by 5 quilt? Quilters, let me know. One of the things that I would be excited to do potentially is make YouTube videos about quilting and learning to quilt. I'm really in the mood I'm feeling very energized in my work and also in like creative things. So I want to try new crafts and document them for you to enjoy and consume, and for us to all learn together. So quilting content in the pipeline. Don't know when, one day. But let me just come up to the camera and show you my fat quarters. I love like indigo tones and like indigo dyeing styles. So that, it was like an indigo series. I don't know if it's actually indigo dyed or just printed to look that way. Doesn't make a difference to me, really. They're just beautiful, and I'd be happy to use them in a quilt. A little bit of color in this one. These all came from Bolt and Skane Quilt Shop in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Oh wait, in Shawano, Wisconsin. It's on a Green Bay street. There is the info of the shop. I really don't know. Oh, so then I like started seeing these like neutrals, like blacks and browns that I really love too. So I just picked up a handful of these. I don't know if I'll use them in the same quilt or not. Look at me already like building a quilt stash before I've ever made a quilt, and also don't know how to make a quilt. That's pretty, and I think this is where we started, maybe? Okay, so those are my fat quarters. Also, something that should have been addressed at the beginning of the video, I'm on a different side of the room. I don't mind it. I was taking like test footage before I started, and I think it's okay. But normally I would be on the other side where the camera is, because I like for you to see my tapestry on the back of the wall. But I don't know, maybe this is good. The reason I'm here today is because I'm starting kind of late, and I'm fighting with battery life, and I'm fighting with sunlight because I'm losing light. I hope this is okay still. I think it is. iPhone does a decent job of compensating in low light. But yeah, I get more light coming through in this direction towards the end of the day. Yeah, my TV is not the prettiest, but I really like this. It's like an IKEA shelving unit I got when I moved in here. I got some books and cameras. My spinning wheel normally is more in this corner, but I put it there for the video. I'm gonna have a sip of let mommy have a sip of her juice. You know what's one thing that I can't stand? And if you say this and you feel attacked, I'm not attacking you, but you're allowed to feel attacked. I don't care, but that's a choice. I hate the phrase adult beverage. It is so disgusting and embarrassing and cringy to me. Just say alcohol or a drink or a cocktail or a beer. Why do we need to say adult beverage? Like, even if you're around kids are allowed to know that adults drink alcohol. I don't really drink alcohol though. I was raised Mormon, and though I am not Mormon, like, I definitely think just being raised in a culture where no one around you is ever drinking, like, obviously I tried alcohol. I've been drunk many times in life. I will occasionally have a beer, a cocktail, just socially. But I really don't care about drinking. I don't like getting drunk, and I can't tell you when the last time I was drunk was. It's been multiple years. Anytime I get drunk, like, I do have fun, but then it's never worth it to me when I wake up feeling hungover and like tired and anxious the next day. That's one thing I've noticed since I like first ever started drinking, is that it always gives me a next day like cloud over my day of anxiety, which obviously I hate. Anyone would hate that. But I was just thinking of that because I called this my mommy juice, which is also a disgusting thing to say, but I'm just saying it to be a freak. But yeah, let's ditch adult beverage. Sick, okay? Say what you mean and mean what you say, and drink what you drink and drink what you drink. Okay, so after Quilt Show, I went to, even more excitingly, and the true purpose of our outing that day. The Quilt Show was kind of an add-on once we realized it happens on the same day. But the main event was Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival. Woo! I think I got like targeted ads for both the Quilt Show and Wisconsin Sheep and Wool on like probably on Facebook, which I don't know why. I scroll Facebook a lot, even though I don't post on it. I don't use it. I don't care about what anyone posts on it. It's just like a habit that I've had since 2007 that I have not broken. But then sometimes the targeted ads are what you need them to be, because I didn't know about either of those festivals, and obviously I had to go because they're really not that far. 2-3 hours. More like 2 hours, really. So we went to Wisconsin Sheep and Wool. First time there. I really enjoyed it. It was lovely. It was really nice to meet Emily. It was one of my friends on Instagram. She's Knitwit8 on Instagram, and she is a prolific spinner and knitter. I feel like she almost exclusively knits out of her hand spun. I could be wrong. Maybe she does use commercial yarn sometimes, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like she's always knitting hand spun, and she has knit many of my patterns out of her hand spun, which there is nothing more honoring to me than to knit a pattern that I designed and wrote out of precious yarn that you spin yourself. It's just, it's already such a like beautiful time commitment for someone to want to knit something I came up with, but to want to double that time commitment in essence to spin the yarn too is really sweet to me. So I've always been a big fan of seeing anyone who spins for my designs, but of seeing Emily's spinning and knitting, and it was really great to meet her in person. I missed Sarah. My friends met Sarah while I was away from them, and I didn't realize it, who is the Black Sheep Knitter on Instagram. I think that's her podcast too. I know her from YouTube. I started watching her podcast like, I don't know, a year or two ago. And one of my favorite YouTubers. I would have loved to meet her. Also, my friends told her like, oh, James is here too, by the way, if you want to say hi. And apparently she looked for me for like 10 minutes and couldn't find me. And we'll have to meet next time. That was a shame, but also kind of funny. We talked about it on our Instagram comments. Yeah, check out her YouTube. I had a number of people come up to me and say hi, which I always love. I always encourage. It's so funny that people sometimes are like really shy about it or really apologetic, which I appreciate. Like, it's very respectful to like come up and be like, I'm sorry for like interrupting you if you just want to like enjoy the day with your friends. But I'm like never like that. Like, it brings me a lot of joy to meet people who interact with me and follow me online and watch my videos and like knit my patterns and stuff. I want to meet you guys. So please always feel free to come up and say hi, especially at a fiber event, but out in the wild as well, unless, I don't know. I always think about like if someone were to spot me and recognize me like at the grocery store, it might not be a good time because I like talk to myself kind of in a constant chitter chatter way, especially when I'm out like running errands, and that's embarrassing. So like if you see me doing that, wait for me to stop. Don't catch me off guard while I am monologuing about what I need to buy from the grocery store and looking like I'm off. I've said this before on my YouTube too. Whether I'm with my knitting friends or with other non-knitting friends, even more if I'm with my non-knitting friends, come up to me and interrupt my hangout, because that gives me a lot of street cred and makes me look really cool to my non-knitting friends when someone comes up to me and is like, "Are you James? I love your work," or whatever. No, I was actually so happy that people were saying hi, and 2 or 3 people came up to me and specifically were like, "I watch your YouTube," which always is actually feels like the nicest thing to me, because this is just, as I always say, it's the platform where I feel like I get to be myself and let people in way more than I do anywhere else. So if you like me here, then that says something. It feels genuine because I feel like people actually get to know me here. So that's really sweet. And if we met at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool and you're watching this now, and if I was awkward or weird or didn't know what to say, who cares, okay? I can get awkward, but I still love you, and it's nothing personal. I sometimes just, I don't know, I can get shy. I can be not shy, I can be shy. I hold multitudes. There are more than 69,000 wolves inside of me. And some of them are shy, and some of them are not, but I'm always happy that people greet me. Here's another dilemma, and I don't want to sound like an asshole, and if I do sound like an asshole, just don't tell me, ignore it, okay? Pretend I didn't say it. But a dilemma that I have is sometimes I think people who recognize me from knitting and come up and say hi feel really shy, and maybe they would like to have a picture taken with me and they feel too embarrassed to ask. And I literally always want to take pictures. I want people to want to take a picture with me, and I want people to post their photos with me. I like having my picture taken, and I like to take pictures with other people. So never feel shy about it. But my dilemma is I would be happy to help move people along in that if they're feeling too shy, and like sometimes I feel like people are a little bit frozen because they don't want to ask. But I also don't want to ask you, do you want to take a picture with me? Because it feels like such a stupid asshole thing to say. It feels so like egotistical and big-headed for you to be, it'd be like asking if you want my autograph, you know? Like, I don't take myself that seriously. I understand that I am a niche internet celebrity for knitting, okay? It is a lame little craft. Okay, it's not lame and it's not little. I love it and you love it, but you know what I'm saying, okay? I do not think I'm a big deal, and I think it sounds like I think I'm a big deal if I'm like, you want to take a pic with me? But I also think that would be helpful to some people if I just asked. So actually, sound it in the comments. Okay, I'll also add, if I asked someone if they wanted to take a picture with me and they said, no, I just wanted to say hi, that would not bother me at all. I would actually kind of think that's funny and cute and like whatever. Like I don't assume that necessarily that's what people want. I just think that some do. And I hate to think that someone, if they would really like to have a picture to remember meeting me, that they didn't get it because they felt shy or embarrassed to ask. So let me know if you think I should start offering when people say hi. That feels annoying to even talk about, but I want y'all to weigh in. Okay, oh my God, let me just get up and make sure my phone's not dead. Okay, it does have a low battery warning probably for 20% since I started. Anyway, the phone's not dead, it's still recording. I think I'm good. But let me quit dilly-dallying. We're gonna go through my acquisitions at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool. First thing that I see in front of me, this is an alpaca nylon. It's a 2-ply, like sport weight, 80% alpaca, 10% nylon, 10% wool, 300 yards, 3 ounces sock yarn. That is so soft. It is to die for. It is so soft and gushy. I never knit with alpaca. I've always liked alpaca. I don't know why I don't ever knit with it. I have bought Alpaca Socks last year that I really liked. So I was like, you know what? This is specifically like alpaca sock yarn. I'm gonna knit Alpaca Socks. Also, I didn't talk about it. I'm wearing my hand knit for the video. It is my hand knit gradient ombre 2x2 ribbed socks that are ribbed the whole way, which I also know that when I made these, I said in the video that I would write a pattern and give it away for free, which I'm still open to doing that. I'm just so lazy, okay? I said that I might like I didn't promise it, but I said I was thinking about writing it, but I didn't really want to necessarily make a pay for pattern out of that, and that I would probably be willing to just put it into my newsletter. But then it's like, once I start thinking about it, then I'm like, well, how, for a free pattern that I don't really want to put that much effort into, it's like, I can't decide how much work to put, like, do I need to do a bunch of different sizes? Like, my feeling is that if I were writing a free pattern for a sock like this, that I'd be writing it for more experienced sock knitters almost as like a quick recipe to tell you especially how I get through. Because like, if you know how to knit a sock, and you know how to knit around, and you know how to knit 2x2 ribbing, that's 80% of the pattern. So almost like quick notes of how I do the increases. I do toe up, so how I do the increases to the toe, and then how knitting the heel goes for a short row heel and rib. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there is extreme interest in a free but very basic pattern, recipe, instructions on how to knit these socks. Oh, why did I even bring it up again? Because if a bunch of people asked for it, then I have to do it. I don't want to do it. This yarn is from CNM Acres, Alpaca's Fiber Mill Fiber Products. They are from Iowa, and it was only $12. I actually could not believe how inexpensive this yarn is, just because it feels so high quality to me. And like the guy selling it farms the alpacas, processes the wool, and mills the yarn. He's doing everything with his wife, themselves on their farm, start to finish. And like, I guess that's probably why they can charge less for it, because they're not outsourcing any of the labor or any of the product. But still, like, in a way that almost makes it seem like it should cost triple, because I'm like, oh my God, you did so much work to make this. So, I don't know if they sell online. Feel free to check CNM Acres. I have no idea. But the guy was so nice. And he was in like not the main vendor hall, kind of a more secluded spot. And he said he's like been trying to get into the festival for years, which I understand some of these festivals are so difficult to get a spot in as a vendor. And I hate that. I wish everyone who wanted to vend at any festival could do it. And as someone who attends festivals, I want there to be as many vendors as possible, that as long as everyone's like comfortable and there's space for everyone. Which at this, like the place where he was vending, there wasn't almost anything going on there. It was kind of weird that they had like 3 vendors in this like large building that otherwise just seemed to have like a lot of seating. Maybe if people wanted to take their lunch and eat indoors or something, like seating and tables. So there could have been more vendors, but it was nice talking to him. He was super nice. And he said that in all his years of vending, I forget if this was his first time at Wisconsin or maybe he's done it for a few years, but he said it took him a while to get in and that he vends other places too. But in all his years, that Friday was his most successful day ever, like highest volume of sales, most product move ever in his history. And that Saturday when I met him was like, it was the middle of the day and he said he was on track to do even better, which just makes me so happy. I love for people who love this industry and love this craft to and make it their business, that they're successful in it. Makes me really happy. He also was selling, I mean, he sells like little coats for sheep in the winter if they like get shorn when it's gonna get cold and they need something to keep them warm. He was saying that's how he gets in as a vendor, is he's like a different category for like more a product for farmers to shop, which I guess is probably also why he was in a different spot. But that what he's actually selling more than anything is all of his beautiful yarn, which is funny. But he also had finished woven, like hand woven alpaca blankets for sale that were beautifully woven that he also weaves himself. He like left the corporate world 2 decades ago to go into alpaca farming with his wife, and it's just a story I love. Also, on the label it says 80% Nikki alpaca, and I was like, I don't know what kind of alpaca a Nikki alpaca is. But then when I was taking the yarn to get rung up, I don't know, when I was buying the yarn, he was like, oh, Nikki, I loved Nikki, like she was such a good girl, like I don't know, it kind of sounded like Nikki maybe crossed the Rainbow Bridge, but the Nikki refers to the name of the alpaca who produced the fiber for this yarn, and like it doesn't get any better than that. Like, I don't know, like it felt genuine, and I'm a sucker for that kind of thing, you know? Oh my God, I'm gonna need another one of these Poison Swill Hawaiian Punch packets. Oh, that was good. Okay, next. So I really want to knit these, but I also have so much design knitting that I am working on these days. I got a commercial pair of socks. As I said, I had bought some Alpaca socks in Innsbruck, Austria last year. Or maybe that was the beginning. No, I think that was December of last year. And I loved them. I did kind of felt them, unfortunately, in the laundry, but they are still wearable, but just not quite as stretchy or soft. I'll be more careful with these. Also, those were 100% alpaca maybe, or like higher content. This is 65% baby alpaca, 25 acrylic, 10 elastic and nylon, and 2% spandex. These came from, there were a lot of vendors selling like commercially knitted alpaca socks. It kind of made it hard to choose, all different price points and stuff and different colors. But I liked the feel of these, and they were kind of, I would say, a little bit on the cheaper side compared to, like, I feel like a lot of the socks I was seeing were like $30 plus. These were $22. Actually, initially I had like done the full vendor hauls and then went back to this booth because there was a pair of socks for $17 that I really liked. And then when I looked harder, I realized I wanted these more, slightly more expensive. I haven't tried them on, obviously. They're like still in the packaging, but ooh, stretchy as hell. These are gonna be so warm and nice for Chicago winter, and it's such a pretty tonally blue color. But these are Fevolden, Fevolden farm alpacas with partners in Black River Falls and Cottage Grove, Wisconsin. So much local wool at this show. Yeah, check them out if you want to look for these socks. I'm sure they also, actually, I'm not sure. I feel like they maybe also had yarn or fiber. I don't know. Another kind of similar like alpaca products kind of booth that had like socks and stuff. There was a number of booths selling like little llamas and alpaca stuffed animals with alpaca fur. But I opted for, I know I've always wanted to buy one of those. I've had one on my like favorite list on Etsy for like a few years now, and I never bought it. But I saw this like limey green teddy bear. Can you see it? Of course, I'm doing the YouTube hand. Let me just, while I'm here, check that my phone's alive. Yes, it is. This is just the softest thing I've ever felt. It's sweet. It's got a sweet face. It smells good. I'm not really a stuffed animal collector, not since I was a kid, but I just couldn't resist this. It was $22.50. It is the extra small tiny alpaca bear. They had like a big alpaca bear that was probably 80 bucks. That was really nice. Like Park in particular, Park and Jessie Mae, but particularly Park was really getting hypnotized by that bear in a sick way, where she was cradling it like an actual baby and like really considering spending $80 so that she could have a life-size baby human baby bear. I wish I had more to say about this so that I could keep holding it and talking about it for the video, but there's not much to say about it other than I love it. I love him or her. I don't know its sex or gender. And I'm not big into like naming stuff. James Jr. So what else did I get? I got this fiber for spinning, which is a drum carded bat. It is 91% Coopworth wool, 9% sari silk, 3.7 ounces, and $16. I love a confetti yarn or fiber like this that just is like a base neutral color or even a base colorful color, but then that just has a rainbow of flecks to be knit or spun into it. I love that. This vendor was really nice, like chatty, sweet, kind, polite old dude sitting there spinning on a spinning wheel, spinning his own fiber and talking about what he had. Yeah, he was really cool, and I had to get fiber from some vendor, at least one. This is the only fiber I got, and it's not super soft. I actually wish it were softer, but I think he had also been saying he was having a great festival. Like, he didn't have that much left. Like, people were really buying not just his stuff, but like most people were having a really good festival, it seems, sales-wise. So, but I like a rustic, rough wool. I'm down with that. So yeah, This came from, oh, he was like showing me, I was feeling some of the other fibers he had. He definitely had softer wool breeds than this. This is just the colorway that I like the most and just happens to be a little bit more of a rustic wool. But he was like spinning something really soft, kind of similar, like Rainbow Flex, maybe in like a green fiber. Like if he had that for sale, I might have gotten that. But he is the spinning guy. He also was selling hand spun yarn. His Etsy, Facebook, and website are all just the spinning guy. And I've never seen his stuff before that I can recall. And I'll have to check him out, especially once he has a chance to like card new stuff and update his website. But the main thing that I was taking from the festival was business cards, because I don't know about you, but it's often the case at a festival like this, especially like this is my first sheep and wool festival. I've only gone to really like hand knitting festivals that are just like totally indoors and more like indie dyed yarns more than anything. Of course, there's always some like indie dyed fiber and stuff as well at those festivals, but they're more knitting and crochet focused. Whereas this festival is half about the animals and then half about the products. But then the products really reflect that like farmy kind of vibe, with a lot more crafts represented, a lot more spinning, fiber preparation, fiber tools, looms, weaving, tons of people selling spinning wheels, tons of people spinning, tons of people wearing hand spun things that they knit. And what I've learned about myself in the years I've been spinning, and I'm just getting back into spinning for real for the first time in like 4 or 5 years, I really like woolen spinning, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but the majority of the fiber that I like see on Instagram and like being indie dyed and stuff tends to be more like hand painted braids of combed top, which if that means nothing to you, it's just not the type of fiber that's needed to do the type of spinning that I like, okay? So what I like are carded bats, roving, and rollags. I also tend to like things that are tonal, like there's a definite color story, gradient, a single color, like a heathered color, something like this, where you have what appears to be probably this gray is the natural color of the wool of the sheep, is my guess. So just like a natural, the depth that you would get from a naturally like off-white gray sheep, silvery kind of color, with this rainbow sari silk mixed in, so that you get a very colorful yarn, but a cohesive like base color. That's the kind of colors I like for the kind of spinning I like to do. And there were so many vendors selling fibers with more that kind of preparation, better for woolen spinning, that really appeals to me. And I'm like, often when I check online and I look for people who do this type of fiber preparation, I have a really hard time finding stuff that I like. Or I don't know, I just saw someone spinning a bat that was so beautiful. I went and looked at the producer, and they do beautiful work. So it's like, it looks super high quality, but they're like hand processed, like probably hand carded bats of wool that are like, I want to say it was like $50 for a 4-ounce bat. That's like 112 or something, like 112 grams, 4 ounces. So it's about a normal skein of yarn size. And I can't afford that. I don't want, even if I had the money, there's like a principle thing of like, I don't want to spend even more on spinning fiber than I would on yarn when I have to do the work to spin it into the yarn, if that makes sense. So I often find fiber like that's either like, I usually find fiber that's comparable to the price of yarn for the weight, or cheaper. And this being 3.7 ounces and $16. So let's say it would be around, for like 100 gram skein of yarn at the same price for this weight, it'd probably be like a $20 skein of yarn. That was some real fake math that I did in my head, but it sounds right. So a little bit cheaper than like, you know, so many yarns are like 30 bucks a pop. So what I was saying is that I don't have space, time, money for just building up a ton of stash for absolutely no reason. So I got one fiber thing that really appealed to me, and I grabbed a lot of business cards from people making the kinds of fiber that I want to use. I can remember them so that when I am ready to get more fiber for spinning, I know where to look. Yeah. Am I done with? No, I'm not done with Wisconsin sheep and wool. I have one last thing, a really exciting purchase to show off, which, I mean, it's not that exciting to look at because I'm not unboxing this right now, but this is inside of here an Ashford Inkle Loom. You can see here kind of what it's going to look like when it's set up. It's like a basic frame almost in the shape of like a key with a bunch of dowels sticking out of it. Something that could go on a tabletop. It's one of the like simpler forms of looms. There's not a whole lot of moving parts or fancy doohickeys, but it's a craft I've been interested in exploring for years, and recently, as I am feeling creatively charged up and wanting to try new things and make videos and stuff, I've been thinking a lot about getting an inkle loom, and I kind of said to myself the day before the festival, I was like, okay, like I probably am gonna order an inkle loom in the next couple of months, so if I see an inkle loom at the festival, I'm just gonna get it. And there was one stall in particular. Who did I buy this from? I don't remember, sorry. But it was the largest stall. It was probably the largest stall at the festival. Like, it seemed like they had two or three booths worth of space, because they were selling everything. They had a full range of spinning wheels, many types of looms, so many accessories for like all fiber crafts. They had yarns, they had books, they had everything, and they had multiple employees walking around helping people. So I looked and I didn't see an inkle loom, and I was about to leave, but I was like, there's so much going on in this booth, I need to ask, because there's a chance. It's because I found they had a book on inkle weaving, and I was like, how are they gonna have a book on inkle weaving and no inkle loom? So like, I need to ask. So I asked someone. He was like, I'm not sure, let me ask the boss. He asked the boss. She was like, yeah, I think we have two of them behind me. And then it was like on a little shelf right behind the cash wrap. And I went over there, and there was one inkle loom. And the guy who was helping me was like, yeah, actually, those have been flying off the shelf, and people are buying them like crazy the past 2 days. Like, we can't keep them. And I don't know, maybe I'm somehow being subjugated to a deep conspiracy of a trend for making inkle weaving popular again, and now I am contributing to it by making content about it. I didn't realize that inkle loom weaving was any more popular now than it was before, but it kind of seems that way with how many people are buying those looms, especially because right once I saw it and grabbed the box, and once I saw I was thinking about like, oh, if they have them, I might come back at the end of the day so I don't have to walk around with them. But once I saw they only had one, and he was like, yeah, people are buying them like crazy, I was like, I gotta buy this right now. And then literally right behind me was this woman and her friend who was like, oh, that's an inkle loom? And I was like, yeah. She was like, is there another? And I was like, no, this is the last one. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me. Like, I was just about to get that. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but I am buying this inkle loom. And then like, she was so funny and so nice and actually helpful. She's new to the hobby herself. I think she's already started doing some tablet weaving. I don't know if she has a different inkle loom or if she's like doing something simpler like backstrap weaving. But she gave me a bunch of advice, and we also were cracking jokes the whole time in line. She was there buying other stuff as well about like, you know, jokes of her being like, don't take your eye off that inkle loom, or like, I'm gonna be stalking you around this festival for that loom, which stuff like that cracks me up. It's funny. I love an old lady threatening to steal a loom from me because she wants to weave so badly. And I just generally love the vibe of people at fiber festivals. But no, she was really nice and actually went with me and helped pick out. I got like an extra shuttle and some cards for when I eventually want to try tablet weaving, which I won't get into all the minutia of like inkle weaving and inkle looms. I also don't know very much at all. I've never done it. I'm gonna learn. But look for cool videos of me like assembling my loom and warping it for the first time and trying inkle loom weaving. But the main thing I want to get into is tablet weaving, which uses cards, which allow you like follow a pattern that tell you to turn certain cards at certain times, and it lets you create really intricate patterns. And I didn't even say like ankle looms are for weaving tiny straps, like something as small as like a cord or a shoelace up to like a belt, like up to like a 3-inch wide belt. And it's an ancient weaving practice. So ankle loom, I'm so excited. I might try at least tonight or tomorrow or something to choose some yarn. I definitely am gonna need some different yarn than what I have laying around at home for that, so that I have yarn ready for when my mom's visit is done. Then I have time to assemble a loom and start exploring that. So that was all the stuff that I got, I think. Here is a tangent. I had an audition for an orchestra, regional symphony here in Illinois, and I have never been so prepared for an audition. I actually did not miss a single day of practice for over 30 days, and I'm generally a much lazier violinist than that. I was feeling so good about my level of preparation. I was always also feeling so good about how I was sounding, how I was playing. It was a big audition. It was 8 orchestral excerpts I had to prepare and 2 concerto expositions, and I put in the work. I showed up for the audition, and I totally, for lack of a better phrase, I ate shit. It sounded horrible. It just happens. Having an orchestral audition is humiliating to begin with, and is so vulnerable and so scary to have to learn the hardest 30 seconds of the hardest 8 pieces of orchestral rep to play in front of a panel of judges, which actually this is a blind audition, which I used to always think I preferred, but now I'm wondering maybe I would do better if I could see some faces. Like the blind audition, the screen aspect of it is also very freaky and distracting in a way. But the thing is, there's a million things I could think about of like why it didn't go well, but I stand by the level of preparation I put in. I was sounding good, and I understand that you just have bad and off days, and it's something I am passionate about, and I want to be in an orchestra playing, and I want to get paid to do it because I'm actually really good at violin. I want that badly, so it's a lot of pressure to work for so long and then show up and have 5 minutes to prove yourself. And it was just one of those auditions. I have had multiple auditions that felt like this in the past, where from the very first note, I could feel like nothing was, I've played these pieces 1,000 times at this point over the past month. Like I have them on lock with like muscle memory and the way they feel. And nothing was sitting in the pocket. Nothing was in the slot. Nothing was fitting together and feeling as it has felt the past month of preparation. And it's so annoying. And they didn't like cut me off or anything. They listened to my whole probably like a 5 or 6 minute audition. They listened to me play everything for the preliminary round. And it was just every note that I played, I was like feeling like I was begging my violin to cooperate, and it just wouldn't. Nothing. It felt like I'd never played violin before. It felt like I was sight reading those pieces for the first time. It was horrible, and I hated it, but it's part of the process. I walked out of that room knowing I would not advance to the next round and that I would not get the job, and I didn't. It's so annoying. You put in all the work and then you get nervous like that, and what are you going to do about it? The thing that really frustrated me was that it was definitely a job I had the potential to win. It was not out of my wheelhouse. It was probably like 5 or 6 positions available, and there's probably like 16 or 17 people auditioning, so the odds were not bad. It's not like I was fighting 100 people for like one job, which is often the case for a really, really, really serious type of job. This is just a regional symphony. It's like, it's somewhere in the middle of the industry. It's not like I was auditioning for Chicago Symphony. So yeah, it felt like it was just within grasp, and I had a really bad day. I was thinking back to the last time I took orchestra auditions, which it's been years. That's also part of it, is I'm really out of practice on violin in general, even though I'm feeling really good about my playing after practicing the past month. But also overall, I have not been playing that much violin for a few years, and I have not taken any orchestral auditions since like 2019, 2020. when I first moved to Tallahassee, there's a bunch of regional orchestras that you can audition for in Northern Florida. And most of the students at the school I went to auditioned for them. So we're all competing with each other. But I probably took 5 auditions, and I would say I felt like I played like garbage on 4 of them. And I felt like I played really, really well on 1 out of those 5 auditions. And I ended up playing with all of those orchestras here and there. But the one that I actually was officially hired and given a contract with was the one audition that went really, really well. And I don't have anything lined up yet. There's one audition I could still apply for at the end of the month. I'd have to learn new rep and I'd have to do it quickly, but I'll probably do it because I need to keep putting myself out there. And if I want this, I have to work at it. But what I really wish I had is I wish I had like 5 or 6 auditions lined up all within the same month, because that's just what I need. I need a lot of chances before I can really get used to the horrible feeling of auditioning and let it just settle and calm and sit in the pocket. And I didn't actually feel that physically nervous going into the audition. Okay, extremely evilly, my phone died. But thank goodness I got up to check if my phone was still alive, probably within 2 minutes of it dying. So I'm just gonna pick off where I left off. I was talking about my audition woes, but I think the main thing I wanted to finish by saying was that like even really horrible auditions are worth taking in this like regional orchestra world, because when I took all those auditions in Florida and I felt bad about so many of them, I ended up getting asked to sub with those orchestras over the years just because they had my name and my number and they knew I was around. But yeah, I will probably take one more audition at the end of the month. And other than that, it's kind of getting, like, I don't feel like many orchestras are gonna be having auditions in October. So what I might do is just send out my resume to a few, see if they want to put me on their sub list. You never know. Often they need people for subs. So anyway, I think we're probably really fighting the light, but it should still look decent enough to get through the video. I'm gonna try to get through this without taking too much longer. I did see that my video cut off right around the 1 hour mark, which is how long I said I wanted this video to be, but I still have a bunch of stuff to talk about actually. Also, I wanted to mention that at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, we just happened to be walking around when they announced that there was a junior sheep contest for a junior sheep costume competition, something like that. Pretty much it was children walking around an arena with their sheep that they raise, and the children and the sheep were in matching costumes or some type of themed group costume, and it was so adorable and funny and sweet, and it was killing me. Since I now edit my videos just a tiny bit, I could probably put in a clip of that here.
Have interest in Southtown. The adults are going to meet in the southeast corner bleachers.
Okay, so I want to talk about designs I've been working on. I have shown, I think, right? Last time oh my God, I showed my shawl that I was working on. Well, it's done and it is in testing and it has a name. This is antiphonal. Antiphonal is a word I learned in studying music. It's used to refer to pieces that have kind of a stereo effect, like some pieces, and this is often something going back, you know, hundreds of years, even in like the Renaissance composers would do this, of having like a choir on one side of the room and a choir on the other side of the room, singing, giving you this interesting sonic stereo effect of location and space. And that would be, we would refer to that as antiphonal writing, if my music education knowledge serves me well. But I think you can see how I got that name with just the obvious like duality of the two halves of this shawl. But I love the squiggle I-cord. I love how this shawl turned out. It's so cute. it'll come out in October, and I hope that some of you shawl knitters would like to knit it. But even if you're not into the shawl, if maybe you are excited by the squiggle I-cord, I definitely want to record a video tutorial showing how I do that squiggle I-cord in this pattern, and also showing 2 or 3 other ways you can knit this squiggle I-cord, because you can kind of take it from a few approaches. It can be a cast on, it can be a bind off, or it could also be something applied as an afterthought. So look forward to a tutorial for that technique. Next, I have been knitting away I've been knitting kind of fast and kind of a lot, but it grows slowly, on a sock. You know what? I don't want to take the yarn out of the bag because it's too much to juggle. Let me just show you the sock. So this is going to be the next pattern in my series of patterns that I have been putting out last year. The Pixel Tweed beanie, the Pixel Tweed pullover came out, and this will be the Pixel Tweed socks, and probably the cutest Pixel Tweed item to come out so far. So it is a 3-color slip stitch mosaic pattern and garter stitch that does grow slowly, but good things take time, right? So it's a toe up pattern, knit on size 0s. I'm using the beautiful yarns for the first time from Frankie Gray Fibers, which I've been listening to watching the Grocery Girls knitting podcast. Probably, I don't think I started with their very first episode, but I feel like they probably had like 5 episodes when I first found them. They started their podcast right around the time I got super into knitting, like maybe 2016 or something, and I started like looking for knitting content on YouTube, and they were one of the first podcasts that came up for me. But they weren't doing yarn back then. Frankie Gray Fibers is not that old. But I've always been interested in trying Jodi's yarn, and I sent her a message, and she very sweetly sent me these 3 skeins I asked for. They got here so fast, and I stopped what I was doing and immediately cast on. And I showed Jessie May what I was working on, and she said, oh, I could knit a sock. If you write the pattern, I'll beta test it. And I stopped knitting and sat down, and probably took about 5 hours in front of the computer. First, I was just gonna write a simple version of the pattern for her to follow, like in one size. But I was like, you know what? If I'm sitting in front of the computer, I'm doing half the work at that point anyway to write even a rough draft for an experienced knitter. I might as well write the damn pattern. So I graded all the sizes and wrote the pattern. I do sometimes write a pattern before I even test it myself. But normally I don't have it as well written out as this. Like, it's pretty fleshed out. It's missing yardage and it doesn't have any photos, obviously. But it is a followable pattern. The only thing is, I think I want to add one more size. I think I want to bump up the largest size to be like adult XL. Right now it's at adult large, and I want to add another stitch count in the mix of the adult sizes. So altogether, I think it would be like 7 sizes, which would be good from kids' feet, baby feet, to adult XL. I was even tempted to see if anyone else wanted to actually just start a test knit of this before I even finish the sample, because I mean, I know it's gonna work out. The construction of the toe and the heel are the standard ones that I like to use and that I've used in my other sock pattern, Granny's Attic Socks. But I should be done with this sock within about a week, God willing, if I find any time to knit while my mom is here. But I am going to try to be diligent about knitting on this anytime I'm sitting around. But I have not knit on it today, but I've been busy all day today. So, funny enough, right before I got the yarn for this and started this, I'd actually bought other yarn to do that pattern. I bought some Lang Yavol, and I was going to use that. But then I was like, no, I really want to try Frankie Gray Fibers. It's more exciting. But I already had the 3 colors of Yavol, so I think Jessie gave me the idea to do a mitten in the same stitch pattern. So I actually started that while I waited for the sock yarn, but I feel like mittens are even more like wintry. So I want the sock to come out first. So I put the mitten on pause. But let me just show you how the mitten is working out. You can see this is the side that has the thumb gusset, which I think is expanding really nicely. It looks pretty clean to me. I've never knit a mitten, so it's exciting to knit a mitten for my first, to design a mitten and for it to be my first mitten ever. But it seems pretty simple. I had a perverted idea last year that I wanted to knit a glove and I never did, and hopefully I never will, because that's too much to knit 5 fingers. But I don't know, could also be fun. Maybe similarly I start by designing a glove, but I would need to design it in a way or give it a name that like tricks people into thinking it's not going to be a lot of work, when it definitely, like knitting a glove is inherently going to be a lot of work. Okay, the other thing I've been working on is I've gotten back into spinning, and I'm gonna do a proper video talking about my spinning project that I'm working on and how I planned it, like the wheel I use, how I'm spinning it, the techniques I'm using, my thoughts about everything, but I'll give you the abridged version here. I haven't spun seriously for like 5-6 years. And I've only ever done 1 sweater spin. Ugh, I feel like it's so dark in here. I'm so sorry about the lighting, but if we turn on the big light, it's gonna be so ugly. So just pretend that this dim light is like really romantic. We're sitting in my living room together, chatting. We're so into our conversation that we haven't even noticed how dark it's gotten in here. Anyway, I only ever did 1 sweater spin before, which go search on my Instagram if you want to find it. It's a purple lace sweater. It's beautiful. It's like an heirloom. I've worn it a ton. It's now quite big on me, but I still love it and can't bear to give it away or get rid of it. And I also don't know that I would want to frog it and re-knit the yarn. I'd rather just spin new yarn and knit new sweaters. So I ordered the same fiber I used for that sweater spin because I remember how much I liked spinning it and that it felt like an easy spin, which is I got 4 colors of Corriedale roving from a shop local to me back in Houston. It's far North Houston, little village called New Waverly. And the store is called Mohair and More. And it's really kind of random that we have, it's like a spinning and weaving store, much more than a yarn shop. They do have yarn, but it's more about the other fiber arts. But there's not a lot of that in Texas. So it's really random and cool that there is one in this very small town. But I ordered from them, sent it up here. And I love knitting with color changing gradient yarns, particularly Noro. And I wanted to do a Noro inspired yarn. Noro yarns are pretty much all single ply yarns, which you can totally spin and knit a single ply. Usually you would full it, which involves dunking it in like hot and cold water and kind of felting it. I don't really want to do all that. I've never done that. One day I'm sure I'd like to experiment with that. But for now, I wanted to do a 3-ply chain ply gradient yarn. And I have only spun 1 skein. I wanted to be recording the footage as I worked on this first skein, but I was too excited and didn't record anything. But as I start the second skein, I will be recording and getting footage ready for a video, talking about the plan, maybe a low-key pretending that it's the first skein, don't tell. But let me show you up close in our romantic and dim setting how this is knitting up. And like, okay, we can also, like, I'm very open to feedback at the moment on YouTube stuff. So is this ridiculous for me to sit so far away from the camera and then get up to show you things? Like, I don't mind doing it, but it also feels silly. I could definitely like frame this somehow, maybe just like torso up. You don't need to see my legs, but at the same time, it's kind of nice to see a lot of my space and a lot of me. I feel like when I see this footage back, I'm still close enough to the camera where you get to see me in enough detail with just enough distance. But let me know if you disagree or would like to have some experimentation with the framing and the setup for these podcast videos, because I'm open to something else. So that's my whips. Is that all my whips? I will be working on a new sweater soon. I mean, this is a new sweater. This is actually my worsted basic drop sleeve sweater, the one that my mom is gonna model for me in the Noro this week, but I'm knitting one for myself. And I'm also adding some short row shaping to the shoulders and the sleeves, and heavily considering so my series of basic drop sleeve sweaters, they're all designed to be super beginner sweaters. The only option you have in that is to knit the body flat or knit the body in the round. And I do that for color purposes, color distribution for self-striping or gradient yarns. It's better to have the option to knit flat. But it's so easy to throw in some short rows on the shoulders, and I'd also love to experiment with kind of a little bit of shaping on the sleeve cap, even though we often see that in like inset sleeve designs, but I think it could work quite nicely in a drop sleeve, like sweatshirt, because like if you lay out a sweatshirt, the sleeves go down, right? So I'm using my version to experiment, and if I like it, I will probably add that option to that pattern, as well as the basic drop sleeves that have already come out. And then there's going to be at least one more additional basic drop sleeve, if not two more, after worsted comes out. But I think it'd be nice eventually in the end for all those patterns to have shaping options, because I know some people really like it, and other people won't touch a pattern that has short rows. So we get the most people knitting my pattern if there are options, even though it's extra work, but I also like the options, honestly. Okay, new modular sweater concept is being worked on. I would show you a sketch, but I don't have it right here. But also, let's keep it a little bit mysterious, but I am deviating from my usual of using Noro to try using Spin Cycle. I think I'm using Spin Cycle Dream State. I have been fans of Spin Cycle and the ladies who run Spin Cycle for years, but I've never actually knit with it. And I had a feeling they would be down to work with me on a design, so I reached out and they got me yarn right away, really generously. And that's going to be exciting. I think it could be my most visually striking modular pattern. It also seems like it might end up being more involved than my other ones, but I'm excited about it. I think it's going to turn out nicely. Okay, that's all I have to say about knitting. I do want to say that I wore this sweater. I don't know if I've worn it on my channel before. I got this sweater at a thrift store and one other just similar style, but in different colors, and a little bit of a different stitch, but similar like cuts and thickness and material and fit, in a thrift store in Innsbruck, Austria. Really cool little thrift store. And also I loved Innsbruck. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been, in the Alps in winter. I wore this sweater to the Wool Festival yesterday because I knew I was going to be out all day long, in and out, and I was worried that I would overheat in a hand knit. And this is full coverage, but pretty thin, and it's like cotton. Might be like cotton acrylic, honestly. I'd have to check. So I wore this, and then it ended up being pretty chilly, and I definitely could have worn a hand knit, and I kind of regretted not having a hand knit because everyone's walking around in hand knits, obviously, at the Sheep Festival. But then I don't know if I've ever received so many compliments on something I was wearing. I probably had at least 10 people tell me they liked my sweater or my shirt. Some people were asking if it was something I had knit, which I think if you see it up close, it's obviously not a hand knit. It's too fine for that. But really makes me want to wonder if I should try to design something based on this sweater. I mean, the fit is nothing special. It's a oversized kind of drop sleeve sweater, which is something I already knit and design all the time with a high and tight collar. But there is something interesting going on with the stitch pattern that I'd have to analyze to figure out what it is. But it looks like, I mean, it's like a rainbow gradient with striped with black yarn. And then it's like kind of like some reverse stockinette or maybe garter stitch, and then some slip stitching maybe happening. That's what I think I'm seeing, but I'm not sure. It's on a small scale and it's hard to deconstruct commercial knits, but let me know. And here, you can get a closer look at this sweater. So that's that. That's all for knitting. I have been so into TV lately. Now who cares how dim it is because I don't have anything to show anymore. But I would say for like a couple of years, I didn't watch too much TV. I watched some series here and there, and that's not true. I watched a ton of reality TV. I've been watching Real Housewives like obsessively for like the past 2 years, but I kind of have had enough of that for now. I hit a wall on that and lost interest. I'm on like season 10 of Real Housewives of Atlanta, which I've loved Atlanta. I watched Beverly Hills, I watched New York City, I watched the new New York City, I've watched Salt Lake City, I have watched, and I think that's it. Now I'm on like season 10 out of like maybe 15 seasons of Atlanta, and I love Atlanta, but it's kind of gotten boring by this season that I'm on. It definitely lacks a lot of the humor and the charm that I found the earlier seasons had. I'm sure I still will enjoy it and I'll get back to it and finish it, but for now I'm kind of out of that show and have been binging like more non-reality TV, like normal TV, more than I have in years. And I actually started with a little reality competition. I started with Bake Off when I just needed something to watch while I knit, and then I watched the whole like new Bake Off season, and not like new, but the newest one I just hadn't watched. It's like from, I don't know, many months ago. It's the one that has Allison Hammond, who I love. I think that's her name, and it's her first year hosting. I really like seeing her, but I watched that in 2 days, and then I immediately watched in like 2 days, 2 or 3 days, the new season of House of the Dragon, which was fine. It's no Game of Thrones, but I enjoy it. And then I watched The Gilded Age, the new season. I had seen the first season, but I had not watched the second season. That is corny. It's from the people who did Downton Abbey, which I also love and have watched in its entirety 2 times. I felt kind of embarrassed when I rewatched Downton Abbey like 3 years ago, but it was entertaining. That show is corny though, and I admit that, and I like it anyway. And The Gilded Age is similarly corny, and I like it anyway. So second season of that was fun. I watched, did I already say The Bear? The cooking show with Io Devery, who is like, I would say she's like one of the new like sweethearts. Her and like Nicola Kagan, is that her name? The one from Bridgerton. I feel like people are loving both of them so much. I watched only season 1 of Bridgerton when it first came out, and it was okay, but by the end of it, I kind of had a feeling that the ongoing seasons would not be for me, and I never gave them a shot. I know it still has a huge following, so like sound off if you really think I should get back into Bridgerton. The way that Nicola Kagan, I hope that's her name, I think it is, has like, I know she's become kind of the center of the last season, does make me want to watch more because I'm a big fan of her ever since Dairy Girls, which is a show that I love. If you want a hilarious Irish comedy, go watch Dairy Girls. It's so funny. I knew her from that, and I like her from that. But yeah, I don't know. Bridgerton was like a step too corny for me and too poppy. But maybe I'll get into it. And it's certainly, if I am going to, now's the time because I am watching everything and anything and I'm binging. So, but The Bear with Io Devery and Jeremy Allen White, who is like the face of the new rat boyfriend aesthetic or whatever. I mean, all that shit is stupid, but he is sexy. I really enjoyed. I binged seasons 2 and 3 of The Bear. I had seen season 1 and I really liked them. The Christmas episode in season 2 was tough to watch, and I did not grow up with a family like that at all, but it still felt so real and visceral, and like I could imagine, you know, people who grew up like that who could really relate to that, and it was hard to watch, but it was really well done and dramatic. Now I'm watching Yellowstone, which my lesbian sister-in-law has told me to watch for a few years, and my best friend in Croatia has told me to watch for a few years, and I had started it 2 years ago, and it was like too dramatic and heavy for me, and I didn't really, like, wasn't feeling it. I knew I would probably like it, but I just wasn't in the mood. But now I've been in the mood, so I started from the beginning, and I watched, I'm almost caught up. I'm like in the middle of season 4. I think there are only 4 seasons. I think season 5 comes out at the end of the year and it will be the last season. But here's the thing with shows like Yellowstone, it's kind of like reminds me of like Dexter and like Weeds, which are shows that I watched as they were airing and I really loved. But like the premise is so good and the opening season and episodes are so good that it hooks you. But then as it goes on for more and more seasons, it just becomes like sillier and more ridiculous and dramatic because they have to keep pumping up the drama to keep it interesting. And it just becomes, I saw someone online refer to it as like a primetime soap opera pretty much. And after reading that, I was like, that is actually so accurate. It is a soap opera. It's like not serious and it's not that good, but it is entertaining and I do like it and I'm already in it. I'm gonna just finish it. So that's what I've been watching the past like week. Here are some shows that I would like to watch. I don't know anything about it, but I've been interested in it for a couple of years. It's the cartoon called Over the Garden Wall, which I do like cartoons. I loved Steven Universe. I watched a little bit of Adventure Time and I liked that. I watched a few seasons of Rick and Morty and I liked that. So I'm totally down with cartoons and anime. But Over the Garden Wall has had such a like niche. Oh, I also really liked Gravity Falls, I think is what it's called. But Over the Garden Wall has had like such a like niche cult fandom and those people are still talking about the show so many years later. And like it was obviously very influential and formative to some people, which really makes me want to watch it if people still care about it that much all these years later. So I'd like to watch Over the Garden Wall. Let me know if you're a fan. I want to watch the new series Shogun. I want to watch the new series Fallout. I played at least one Fallout game, so I'm familiar with Fallout and I really enjoyed the game. And other than that, those 3 shows, I don't have further plans, but I'm just really into my knitting and I'm really into working and being creative right now. But with all the knitting that I'm doing, I like to plop down and watch TV every day. So give me recommendations, please. Beyond that, I am still reading Wheel of Time. I am on the final book. I listened to the prequel, New Spring, as an audiobook while reading book 13. I like did them simultaneously. And then book 14, I decided, like some of the books I've read and some of the books I've read and listened to, like just depending, like if I would go out for a run, I listen to it, come home, switch to reading the book. But I decided like at this point I started Wheel of Time book series almost a year ago and like it's been really important to me and I've really loved it. So I want to read book 14 completely on the book. I don't want to listen to it. It's easy to get distracted on audiobook. And I'm almost done, probably about 300 pages from the end. And the last book is the longest one. I'm on the chapter called The Last Battle, which is the longest chapter of any of the books. It's like a 200 or 300 page chapter. It's ridiculous. I'm in the middle of that chapter somewhere. But I was gonna wait till I finished Wheel of Time to start anything else, but I had a long drive after my bad audition and I was not in the mood to listen to music and I have Audible credits sitting around. So I decided to start the audiobook for the first Dune book, which is really exciting. Ever since I watched the Dune movies, I knew I wanted to read the books. And I listened to about 2 hours of the audiobook and really enjoyed it. And I would like to go ahead and either get an ebook or a physical copy. I like having access to all 3 formats. I like audio, ebook, and physical book. And I like to switch between them for different reasons. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to keep listening to that anytime soon. I think I'm going to focus on Wheel of Time, but I am ready to continue with Dune as soon as Wheel of Time is done. Let me know if you're reading anything good. There was one other thing I was going to say about TV. Oh, the new season of Rings of Power, the like Lord of the Rings prequel started. Season 1 was honestly boring, but it was high production value and like fun enough to watch. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but I've seen the movies more than once. I've not read the books and I am really into fantasy, but those books are not my priority. Not enough women. I really like girl characters. Too many boys in Lord of the Rings. So, but I will probably watch the new season of Rings of Power, even though it's probably going to be boring. So yeah, we're probably at an hour and a half, if not an hour and 40 minutes. That always happens with these videos, but I know some people really like a long video, and I am grateful for those of you who like it, or if you want to split it up or put it on 10 times speed, whatever you like. Thank you for watching. I hope you tuned into my yarn review that I did, and I really want to keep doing content like that. I want to do yarn reviews, book reviews. I want to try new crafts. I want to do sewing on the channel. There's a lot of video styles I'd like to explore with y'all. So thanks for watching. Knit something fun. Get one of my patterns. Check out my Instagram, my newsletter, my website, my Ravelry, what have you. Or don't. But at least like go subscribe to my newsletter. You can get $1 off a pattern when you do. It's nice, isn't it? Okay, bye. See ya.